And we are live. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good.
All right. Oh dear. I just saw the chat from Middleton. So I don't think I've ever seen a single episode of King of the Hill, so I am here to learn. Now that's interesting. I don't want to pick on him too hard, but how do you make it through America and not having ever seen an episode of King of the Hill?
Yeah, I saw that too as well, and I'm going, wait a minute. You had to have just in passing, just by glancing, you had to have seen an episode at least once. It came out in 1997 initially.
Right. Well, was this the one too that I feel like there was a show, an American Fox show that got big on Japan? I think it was King of the Hill.
Oh, I'm sure after that one episode, where Cotton finds out that he has
He's get his
a
special.
Ja- Japanese Hank, special Hank over in
He's
Japan.
got a war baby.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, very good. All right. So let's see. Having said that, uh, let's see. Middleton. Okay. Yeah, that works. That'll do it sometimes in excess of video games. Yeah. Let's see. Having said that, Arthur, what King of the Hill? We talked about that some on our last stream before the revival came out when we were sort of raising our eyebrows about it. We did the retrospective. If you could sum it up in 30 seconds or so, what would you say King of the Hill was in that first 13 season run?
I mean, that first 13 season run, I liked. I like how an article not too long ago how they put it with King of the Hill and Mike Judge, how he took it, how it was uh, social comedy, not political comedy. So that was one thing I remember. We also noted in the retrospect on how major events, 9/11, Iraq War, a lot of just a lot of things going on within the real world spectrum. The the television show didn't touch on that. It didn't try to be like a hee haw South Park or anything like that. So it was just more of
Right.
a continuity there. And, that's what you really enjoyed because you had Hank Hill there, as the patriarch of the family, Peggy, the characters, they were who they were. And you could go in any episode, especially say you see an episode from season 2 or an episode from season 7. You could see the first 6 seasons before season 7 to really
Yep.
kind of plug in and understand what's going on.
Yeah. It was definitely a sitcom, and it had its primary beats that it hit in most of the episodes. Particularly seasons one through seven. We talked about that a little bit. That was probably high tide for King of the Hill was one through seven, and then it went through a bit of a desert. But I was of the opinion that it brought it back there in the end. So having
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, having said all that, we all of us that were on that night. Oh, maybe we should address the elephant in the room. Dearest Otto decided to lead us on this week. So we pray a hedge of protection on him and that he's being blessed as he's sleeping. And we will talk with him another night.
Yeah, and that's a shame too because I was really interested to see what his perspective on it because no big secret, but he didn't exactly grow up watching
Right.
it. He didn't get in on the ground floor as I'd say myself and you did with it, and could really have that kind of perspective of saying, here's where it was, here it is now,
Yep.
what we remember before. So I was interested to see what he was going to say about the new iteration.
I thought the Zoomers really, so he and WASP both, they were on there last time, and I thought they brought in just perspectives I would have never even thought of. And so that was a lot of fun digging into those and seeing where they were at on the series.
Now, one thing I tried to do was, of course, as we talked on the last stream, looking back on and I remember at the end we were discussing, kind of asking the question, are you going to watch the new one? Are you not going to? And I was still kind of on the fence, in between, like, I don't know. And what I did is of course, it really August 4th, 10 days ago, and I just kind of did an entire kind of media blackout on it. I
Yep.
didn't look at,
Yep.
I didn't do it. All I saw was in the chat uh, earlier this week. I believe that you had said you'd seen it, and you were pretty happy with how the direction had gone. And I'm like, okay. And that was the only thing that I went off on going into the new. But what I did though is after 10 episodes of the new version, I keep calling it new version. Let's just say I guess the restart of King of the Hill
Yeah. The revival.
revival. Yeah. And, but after I got done, that's when I started digging into the review articles and,
Yes.
caught some interesting things that I wanted to share with you. If you don't have anything right now further to pontificate
Well, go
on.
for it. So, sort of my thoughts for the evening were that we certainly we can do some overarching stuff right now. Because I'll tell you, I did not do that. As a matter of fact, I went back and I just started rewatching it again because I wanted to get two showings under my belt. I'm about halfway through my second round at this point, where well, I'm through episode 6 or 7 a second time, and I wanted to get that under my belt before I jumped into the article. So yeah, bring him. Oh, that's where I was headed. Is absolutely. Let's do the articles and sort of some overarching themes, and then I was thinking too. We can. There's only 10 episodes. We can go episode by episode and give some quick thoughts on it and where we thought it kind of fell within the season.
Yeah, sure. So I watched all 10 and I started rewatching as well. Not halfway through again, but started rewatching again. And I had an idea of what they were going their complaints about it would be depending on the sources. And two articles to me just really stuck out. One was from the New York Times and one was from the Atlantic. And I know we can make the jokes about, yes, of course, it's from your progressive liberal leaning media, duh, but I was just amazed to myself, I guess surprised myself how on the nose my thoughts on what they were going to critique were. And it was right on the nose. I knew they were going to complain that they were not exploring. Mike Judge didn't explore Hank Hill and who he would have voted for in say 2016 or 2020 or 2024, and didn't bring up Hank Hill's thoughts on Trump and just a whole litany of uh modern political thought. And I'm going, well, you're missing what really the magic of the show initially and now is. You're missing it entirely. That's what made it such a good show. If I want to see modern critiques within a show, I can go watch South Park, or there's a multitude of other options to do this. And
Right.
it seems like they kind of missed entirely the point of King of the Hill from the get-go, that this was not going to be another, and I believe we touched on this as well in the recap, that King of the Hill was not going to be your standard type of I guess satirical show that was going to try to lampoon modern things going on within the real world. And that's why they didn't do anything with 9/11. They didn't do anything Iraq War. They of course presented Hank Hill as your kind of archetype conservative, but not anything too crazy. And that's what the show is. Not, and so they were kind of, the complaints I saw within the articles where they were complaining what the show is and not happy that it's not what they want it to be. They basically want it to be, I guess, some sort of animated West Wing or to that attempt. So that was interesting to
Well,
me.
did you ever hear everything you're talking about really reminds me? Did you ever hear that argument from George R. R. Martin? Like, what's Eric Horn's tax policy? Did you ever hear that?
That sounds familiar. I believe where they had brought up. Wasn't he at maybe like a symposium or something? And there have been questions about complaints about his Game of Thrones series on, well, you don't touch on this or you don't talk about that. And is that what you're talking about? Where he kind of
Well,
basically pointed out that's
there
not.
was something there about why he would dig in because he's man. This is gonna nerd out for a second. Did you get into that book series relatively early?
Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
No, to be
Okay. I
honest, started reading it after the show came out. Books as
yeah.
fast as possible, and have been waiting well, not as waiting. Been waiting with everyone else if he's ever going to finish the series.
So I jumped in. I'm trying to think. So there was a Game of Thrones, the Storm of Swords. What's after a Storm of Swords? Because a Feast for Crow. Oh, a Dance with Dragons. Is that the third one? Uh,
Sure.
anyways,
Not-
if so, I started reading them in the early 2000s. So I want to say that what you call it, A Dance with Dragons hadn't yet been released, or it had just been released, but it was definitely before Feast for Crows that I started reading it. And you get in there, and if if Tolkien takes 3 paragraphs to describe a tree, Martin goes in there and he takes 3 paragraphs to describe the tax policy in the world and blah blah blah. To the point that ultimately, as much as I loved a Game of Thrones, by the time I don't even think I finished A Feast for Crows. I think I got to the point where I was like, this is dumb. You, well, and that's not even a fair critique though. It was that he had gotten to the point where everybody was evil after the Red Wedding or whatever. They're killing Rob and his wife, and then it just got to the point where I was like, this is just I'm tired. I'm tired, boss. And so I quit reading them. But the argument you were talking about just now with was it the Atlantic and the New Yorker? You said
New York Times, just the
New York
critique
Times, and
that they're
yeah, it reminded me of that where it was like we want to. They're saying like we want to know what's their tax policy and what is it like you said, who do they vote for? And it's like, well, you're missing the point.
exactly.
You know, you're missing the point. The whole issue here is how does this for well, and they hit on it in some of the episodes when Hank's like, look, we had 2 channels, we had Fox and CNN. When he says CNN, everybody gasps, and he said there were commercials, and it was the only thing in English. He said it
That's
was
right.
only during the commercials,
I
right?
only watch
It's
CNN during the commercials.
right, and that was the thing. It's the Judge has been really good. He does a really good job of sort of giving you the milieu, giving you the character arc, but he doesn't hold your hand and plan everything out and force you to understand this is what goes on. Like who in their right mind after the first couple of episodes with Hank would have okay, so there's 2 of them. When he goes through the hometown of Bill Clinton and he locks the doors on his car, you can see that happening. And
Yeah.
then and then who in their right mind would have seen Hank being displeased is strong, but being shook by meeting President George W. Bush until you realize that, like, well, it wasn't meeting Bush that was the issue. It was his flimsy handshake.
Yeah, he had a weak handshake. That's what he didn't
Right.
like.
This is the stuff that it's just it's these beats that give you the whole picture rather than going detail by detail on what's going on, which ultimately just makes things fuzzy because you're depending at that point on the writer to provide continuing narrative rather than just giving you a story that is absorbing you. Almost like I'm trying to think of a character where they do something completely well. Okay, so that's one of the arguments with the new Star Wars episodes, 7, 8, or excuse me, what is it? Yeah, 7, 8, and 9. Um,
Mhm.
that Luke Skywalker is acting in a way completely and without any build up, without any explanation, but he's just acting against who he would have been. in episodes 4, 5, and 6. So that was kind of long and rambly, but I guess that's what I do. Uh, I thought I thought that he did a shockingly good job in the revival series. I thought Judge did a shockingly good job of kind of catching that lightning that he had back in the first 13 seasons.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and that was one thing I was very pleasantly surprised and happy to find out as I started watching. It didn't. I mean, did you also feel it just didn't really skip a beat? It was kind of like okay, we did a bit of a time jump, of course. Bobby's 21, and Hank and Peggy are coming back from Saudi Arabia. He's retired. They're retired, but it was just kind of just stepping back into the back
Yes.
alley with the beers, and
Yep.
it wasn't. He did. It seems like you said Mike Judge took that lightning and didn't totally capture it back, because you could never do that. I mean, I can't give
Right.
him anyone that much credit, any show, any piece of fiction, and say, oh yeah, it's exactly the same. No, it's not.
Yes.
Times change and whatnot. The last episode was what, 2010. We're 15 years later. The world has moved on. Lots of things have happened. Anyway,
Well, and
but what he
there
did
were
do is
weak episodes and weak aspects that we'll dig into as we go
yeah.
on.
But I did like that, like you say, they did really good about kind of just not trying to reinvent the wheel,
Yeah.
not trying to I don't know, try to be dad. Like, look, the character's a little bit older. There's some up where the world's at. Like I got to point out one, and it was in that first episode where it's Redcorn and Dale's wife, which I always forget her name. I always want to say Luann's,
Nancy.
not Luann,
Yeah.
Nancy,
Yeah.
and they're doing the online video, and come down and check this out, and then the comments with any social media, great video, and right at the end that one, Redcorn's tapping that, right? Did
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
notice that?
Well, oh yeah. And I think in a real quick rhyme with Nancy, we're gonna bring Yancey in here because he just jumped onto the stream.
What
But
up?
how are we doing tonight, brother? Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yep.
What
Perfect.
up, fellas?
So my thoughts as we get into the jump is that nothing came off really as unearned. Every every person was in a position that I could, whether it was Bobby and Joseph being roommates, Kanye at college, e- even Shane. I think that was totally understandable. Him being sorority king or whatever. Nothing, none of it felt like they were just being arbitrary in any of it. So that was good, and it was interesting too. Tell me if you think I'm crazy here. Either of y'all jump in, but it seemed like they were almost advertising it in a woke way because they're showing Robertson out in the road with the rest of them, drinking beers, and then there were what else was it? I'm thinking about ads before the show came out. That's probably the best one I can think of is Robertson in the middle of the road. But they didn't give a whole lot of
uh
details, but it almost seemed like they were going for more of a woke feel in the advertisements. And then you get into the show, and if it was woke, it was simply because that's where we're at culturally. It didn't. None of it felt shoehorned.
no, exactly. No, what you just said, that with the way they advertised it, it did kind of give off a bit of an impression with. I think one of the other advertisements was, as we said earlier, Bobby is now he's co in a restaurant, but it's a fusion restaurant of Japanese style and German Tex food. And I think I remember distinctly one of the advertisements that came on before the show came on was cultural appropriation. You're appropriating, and then one of the episodes goes into him trying to get that special charcoal, and the guy not wanting to sell it out. He's a black Japanese guy who was raised in Japan. Telling me I'm appropriating. He goes, I was raised in Japan. I'm fully Japanese. And they're like, well, not fully, but okay. But yeah, it did give that
Yeah. The museum clip particularly is what they advertised with that I was seeing on Twitter, and I didn't watch it. I'm just going to be straight up. But I mean, maybe that's kind of a perspective that I can bring to this, like the guy who absorbs King of the Hill via osmosis through either Twitter or the hotel TV when you're traveling. But basically, it a theme that we're kind of, I don't know. I don't know if it's just like all these guys that made their bones, made their money in the '90s, but like the references that they make, especially when it comes to like contemporary reactionary politics, is just like so left back. And the vibe I got from the new King of the Hills is like it's not particularly woke. Like Mike Judge did a pretty good job, all things considered, being that he's been away from it for so long. But like, I don't know. They mentioned like what Substack and other stuff like that in the museum clip, and other things like that. And Hank has kind of a positive view of Bush, whereas like one of the other characters I forget in the clip that I saw, Dale kind of is like going off. It's just this really funny kind of like left back, like where'd all the craziness come from? And like that type of guy who's like relatively things seem normal in his time, and then like you fast forward 30 years and it's like where all these crazies come from, like where's this woke stuff coming from, like and where's this right-wing weird stuff coming from. I'm kind of I may need to check it out more in depth, but it just I kind of am noticing that with like some of these 90s guys. I don't know if that sounded like a total that didn't make any sense or whatever, but that was kind of what I got from it.
So here's the problem. Me and Yancey are probably going to sound too much alike on the final product. So
I sound more handsome.
Well, I am more handsome. So
Fair enough. So, Wasp, did you jump into them? Because you were on our last stream. Were you able to
I
catch the
did
revival?
watch the whole revival. First night drunk with my dad, and then I
Okay.
rewatched it sober. And I
Yes.
thought the first two episodes were kind of iffy
Okay.
because they were kind of just doing, hey, look, guys, it's 2025. It's
Yeah.
2025.
Yep.
And I think when they ran out of that material, it got better, and it kind of got back to what King of the Hill was really good at, which was character-based comedy. Now, there was one episode in particular that was really interesting, which was, I think it was the second one, where there's a lot of interesting questions of a variety in terms of who one is based off of where they're from, or
That was the third one. Are you talking
that
about the
was the
one where he's
third
looking for
one,
charcoal?
the one where he's looking for charcoal.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah. So we're
that
gonna
one. Yeah,
we're gonna jump in, and I'm looking forward to seeing, because Arthur and I were talking earlier and said, hey, since there's only 10 episodes, we're gonna go episode by episode,
cool
see
by
what we
me.
think about them. What's that?
Cool by me.
Groovy. But so overall, then what were the major beats you felt like, and then what did you think? I mean, without going super in depth right now, I would say it's a thumbs up from me. I'd say it's worth watching, even if you're not connected with King of the Hill. It's worth watching. Now, it's not what you may call it. I mean, it's not high art or anything, and I don't know that I would even go. It's a solid 6. I don't even know if I'd go up to 7, but it definitely had its moments. So
If
in general, where are you guys at?
if it was a girl at the bar and I'd had like a couple shots of bourbon and a couple of light beers in me, she'd be looking like an 8. But if I'm doing it objectively and not grading on the drunk curve, she's probably about like 6.
Yeah, it was a solid mid. Where are
Uh,
you at,
I
Arthur?
Like I said earlier, I'm rewatching it again,
Okay.
so it's a thumbs up for me. So I like it, but it's really hard, 8 right now or a 6.
Yeah.
I'm not even there yet. We're like, okay, it's a rewatch, but
Yep.
yeah, I wouldn't be going, yeah, this is 8.5, awesome. But one counter to what Wasp said about the first 2 episodes, how it had was kind of going, yeah, 2025, welcome back. I think that was just kind of still setting the stage, because not everybody watched the initial run of it. So it was kind of introducing new audiences to, this is Hank, this is Peggy. They haven't been in Arlen in years. They're coming back. So I think it was a lot of it just kind of world building again, even though these are
Yeah,
familiar
I
characters.
mean, that's fair. It's just me, that's a personal, like, pet peeve when shows kind of do, like, hey, it's current year. I mean, I understand why sometimes they do it, but just me personally speaking.
Can I go off a little bit on just the art style from what I've watched? It looks
Yes,
awful.
please do. What's
No,
that?
I mean, no, I don't really engage with much of the show. I mean, I'm really not the type of demographic who, like, you know, really enjoys this show. I mean, like, it has its moments, and I've watched it in the past, and like with the new, I was not one of these people that like just had to see the new season. Which, now that you guys are talking positively about it, I probably will check it out more in depth. But just, what is the deal with the freaking art style? Like, I think it's
Yes.
just like the transition from a hand drawn. Not that there wasn't a digital component, obviously, to it originally, but just like this over reliance on like digital,
Yep.
like
Well, what is
subscription
that?
software is what it feels like. Like, I don't. Anybody else have a take on that? Like, it has it lacks so much soul and like
Is
any
that called
graphic on it.
rigging? I'm not super familiar with the new art styles, but yeah, 100% the art in it is. It took me nearly half the season through the first watch through to get where it was like, whatever, I can look past it. But 100%, if you look at that compared to certainly the first run of King of the Hill, and then I mean even The Simpsons, anything hand drawn, it's tough.
Well,
So I don't,
to derail it even further than I already have, the one show that's kind of maintaining that fidelity to like a hand drawn style while incorporating more modern techniques is probably something like Smiling Friends, and that's kind of my modern benchmark. And King of the Hill just does not match that anymore. It's just
Oh,
completely soulless.
absolutely not. Smiling Friends is great, by the way. For anyone
I
who
have
knows.
no idea what that is.
Just check
So
it.
it's
Adult Swim.
yeah, made by two YouTubers, Zach Hadel and Michael Cusack. Uh,
Okay,
both of whom are not like, they're just normal guys.
They're crypto R guys.
They're crypto art guys, yes.
okay,
Uh, so it's about like two monster dudes. I don't really know what they're supposed to be, but their whole job is to make people smile, and then it ends up in hilarity. It's a pretty good cartoon premise.
It
okay.
might be a little too much LOL XD random.
It might be,
Yeah,
but also, like, to get a sense of the comedy, Zach's on a channel called Oni Plays a lot uh, on YouTube. But it's like, what if two just crypto R guys got a show?
Gotcha. All right, well then I guess I'll look at it. Fair enough.
They,
Um,
my favorite thing is they portray an Indian Uber driver in one episode, and it's very funny because they just do the accent. They don't give a shit.
yeah,
and they also had an episode where the boss character visits a town that's like totally chaotic and random. Something happens to the boss character in that show and at the end of the episode, after having endured basically like basically torture. He's rescued, and he turns to the camera and basically says that, "Wow, isn't it great? All cultures are actually equal. Isn't it great?" Like after being like subjected to like man-made horrors beyond his comprehension. It's like a
Oh
little.
yeah, there's also one part where it just says, "Yes, Christianity is correct."
No,
Okay.
Charlie is canonically Catholic in
He
the
is. There's a
show.
part in the show. Charlie is the chubby yellow one. He says in
Okay.
one episode, "Man, I love my friends. I love my country. I love my God. You know, it's God bless America, man."
All right. Well,
It's
should we
actually a
go there? Okay. Is this a? I guess we're gonna go there, and then we're gonna get back to
yeah.
King of the Hill. Is this a more friendly version of a repeated name, a show that came out?
Uh,
That's too cryptic.
It's way too cryptic.
Way too
Yeah.
cryptic.
No. So is this a friendlier version of Murdoch Murdoch?
Oh no, 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 no! This
No,
is
no,
like
no.
Okay.
much
Although we
like
do need to do the Murdoch retrospective.
We
it'd be
might be
a
able to do
wonderful.
that. I
There's one channel on YouTube getting away with it, like just straight up
Okay.
posting clips. So we might be able to. And the Prudentialist has a years old one.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like Red Hawk was on a retrospective one time on that.
I
Him
listened.
and Charlemagne, maybe. And,
It was. I can probably find out in a little bit, but
yeah.
yeah, no, I know that Prudentialist was hosting it because on their
Okay.
website they were like, "It's Prudentialist. He's more with the NRX thing," but which I don't know how much I agree with that, but uh, he still gave it a positive review on their website. Is what it was saying.
Fair enough. All right. So after that little detour, check out Smiling Friends, not just for the story, but also, as I got it from you guys, for decent animation.
Oh yeah,
Excellent, excellent animation. They
in
incorporate.
fact,
Excellent.
they
Go
incorporate like
ahead.
a lot of different styles in one
Yeah.
episode. Even it's peak.
And that's what
Arthur,
that
do you have any
actually.
major thoughts on the animation in this one?
No, it was fine to me. I
Okay.
did like the step up, especially from the old, you could tell the difference, of course. It's the
Yeah.
old run. But I've never heard the Smiling Friends. I wrote check that out. Looks interesting.
Right. But
It's just one of
yeah.
those things that will. I'm sorry. This is where I'll probably hop off here, but like that's where it definitely will date this version of King of the Hill is just an animation department alone. Like the writing is
Yeah.
probably, from what you guys say, it's probably just as good as the original. But like I, it's an animated show, so it should have a component to it that is like enjoyable to look at, and it's just nauseating to me to watch any clip from the new season.
No, I think that's a fair critique. That was, like I said, it took me about half of my first watch through to be like, all right, I can look past it. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's computer based style. I don't know. That's my only thing that I could think of is it's sort of like a new school Hanna-Barbera. Um, Hanna-Barbera did things so quickly and so cheaply that at the same time that sort of came iconic, especially when you get into Cartoon Network and all that sort of revival in the '90s. Um, but this one, I don't hold out any hopes for it becoming classic.
Is it? Are they not giving like a big enough advance for some of these big names? Now I'm wondering like how much
I
money
don't
is
know.
actually in these like revivals, because you would think that like a big name like King of the Hill would get like a big enough advance to like invest in the
I
artwork more so than they did.
Sure,
think,
that's an
yeah.
that's an interesting point. But there was also I mean, this is all kind of, well, it's an overused word, but it's all kind of meta in that there were some guest actors voice wise, but nothing crazy
I mean,
or
Keith
in the
David, who I mean, I like Keith David, so that didn't really bother me.
yeah.
Uh, just because I've heard Keith David in so much shit, it's just like, oh, He's the cool black guy in Saints Row.
Well, I
He's
was thinking
he's
Fix It Felix is on there, but
he's Captain
Yeah.
Anderson in Mass Effect too. So.
Yes. I was like, man, so this is what he does after he helps save the universe from the Reapers. Gotcha.
yeah. But I was
Does
thinking,
not.
I know we had brought it up in the last one. Man, on that first run, they were having everybody from Matthew McConaughey and Pauly Shore and countless country artists and who else? I mean, I can't remember.
Burt.
Yes, Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds. I was thinking they might have even had like Randy Johnson or different MLB guys on there at different points. So,
Maybe.
oh, and they definitely had who am I thinking? Dagum. Well, if I saw a picture, like who's in football? Anyways, no, it was crazy the voice actors or the people, the guest voices they had come on that first run, and we didn't catch much of that on this one. And I don't know if that's because there were times I think Yancey brought up an interesting point. There were times it almost seemed like they were hedging their bets a little bit, and I don't know if that was a straight production issue or if they were waiting to see if it's going to get renewed. So
I think it is. Just because it's getting really good reviews.
yeah.
In fact, even people like us like it, down to like my normie coworkers. One of whom's from
Mm,
Amarillo, Texas, so he liked it.
yeah.
Yeah, I did see something today, actually, when I was looking through some of the news articles and information that it's up there in the streaming numbers. So come back another season.
Good. Yeah.
I did see
How
like
did
But it's
some.
how did the
Uh,
Studio Ghibli cooking shots hold up?
I'm not I'm not sure. I think I missed that reference.
It seemed like they were doing a Ghibli thing with some of the cooking shots in that in the new season.
Mm, if they did, I missed. Was it like a flashback, I wonder? Or,
there was one like Bobby cooking.
yeah, I don't know. Here's one for you before we jump into the particular episodes. Tonally, what did we think? I thought it was definitely way more mature, and I don't know if that's because it's on Hulu. I don't know if that's because they really wanted to reach into let's just go for it. Let's have Bobby Hill having sex, and it was yeah. I mean, it makes sense age wise, but at the same time, I think they were going into different places that the original show wouldn't have gone into. Even with Boomhauer, it seemed like it was a little less in your face than this season. So I
Yeah,
don't know
like
tone wise if you guys have any thoughts.
No, and Bobby there at the college where he essentially has a one night stand,
really
and
does.
next morning, going, hey, got off this weekend. We do
Yes.
all this, and she goes, no, this was one. Took me back for a moment, surprised. Like, oh wow, okay. So, but he is with the time jump. He's a 21-year-old man,
Yeah.
and
She's my age at that point now, so
they,
he's a year
yeah,
younger
they
than me technically, but
did. I think it was a good move
Yeah.
to pretty much acknowledge where they're at, and from there, I don't know if that's because it's on Hulu.
Hmm.
Because I mean, this show started on Fox, and
Yeah.
you saw where Fox would go with their stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't think they were playing. It was a play safe or not. I just think it was just a smart artistic direction to go in. Like, okay, I mean, there's a couple of things in the training camp episode where I was like, okay, wow. I'm very surprised that they went far with it, but okay.
Yeah.
I
We're
spoke to a
gonna get there.
Cowboys fan,
Well,
and he
part of
said he would do that.
part of it is though that it is Hulu because I mean there's no restrictions and
Yeah.
you could Mike gets to let loose a little bit and let his hair down a little with this series in ways that you couldn't in the past. That's probably one of the only other elements that makes this, that differentiates this, other than the complete dog shit art style. That's
Yeah.
differentiated from the past iterations of the show. I mean, maybe that's something that will happen as time goes on when more classic shows get revived. Like, has anybody seen the Beavis and Butthead revival or
I
anything like
saw
that?
the movie.
They, yeah, I need to see the movie, but I haven't yet.
I didn't know how, if that was any more edgy than the original network run.
It really wasn't, because I didn't watch much Beavis and Butthead, but it didn't seem like it was just like what Beavis and Butthead was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, now more people know about
Yeah, I
Beavis and
think it.
Butthead because they're in Call of Duty, so I don't know how I feel about that.
That's epic. That's just a change for the better. Everybody should be playing Hank Hill, Beavis and Butthead, and Fortnite and Call of Duty, and that's the positive direction for the cult. This is how we maintain, you know, this is how we enshrine classic pop culture figures. Soon we'll be playing as John Lennon in Fortnite and Call of Duty, and Martin Luther King Jr. This is how we preserve for the
Okay,
future
yeah.
generations all of these figures that are noteworthy, and they'll be getting they'll be winning a victory royale with John Lennon, and he'll get out the piano and he'll play 15-second snippet of the song, and then the Gen Alpha guy who's playing it, 5 years from now is going to be like, oh, well, who's John Lennon? And then he'll look up John Lennon and find the Beatles, and that's how we preserve. That's how we
And
preserve
then I'll
white
say, you
American
know what? I
culture.
was very glad this whole time that I was shooting John Lennon in Fortnite.
There's that
Yeah,
aspect of it too.
I think one of the interesting things, if we go back to tone, though, is that there was this focus, and focus might even be too strong because in the original run, it was more or less split between Bobby and Hank. And so they still carried on the split in this new season. But yeah, if he's 21, like Arthur was talking about, well, there's going to be different things that he's getting into and he's trying to figure out. And so it might be as simple as that, in that the tone would change just as boy is turning into a young man trying to figure out who he is. So with that, I mean, there's plenty of rabbit trails we could go down with Willow and Connie and that, but I think we'll just jump into the whatchamacalls it, into the particular episodes and see what we think about that.
Let's get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Let's see.
Going fishing in the dark.
And
Arthur,
with
how you doing this evening? You think you might need to poke out here in a minute, or
Yeah,
can you get a couple minutes? Okay.
I think I'm.
I,
Like I
I don't
said, my
I will bring nothing to this, so I'm going to bow out, gentlemen. Thank you for having me on.
All right. Thanks, Yancey. Good.
And hopefully we can get Otto on. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he watched it.
just before I jump out of here, just my final thoughts on glad getting another season after this one. It wasn't a perfect beginning, but perfect revival. But I'm pretty happy with it. Pretty happy.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise. All right. Well, hey, Arthur, we appreciate it. And yeah,
Appreciate it.
you have a good one, sir.
Y'all have a good night. Take
Yep.
care.
You as well.
All right, Wasp. I think you were the first one of our group to do the whole thing. And and you just said tonight you did the first night it came out and watched the whole thing. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep. All right. Well, very good. So let's jump in and let's start just breaking it down episode by episode, where it went and what our thoughts were on it. So that first one was Return of the King. That's
Yes.
where whatchamacallit, Hank and them, it opens up. They're on the plane and they're coming from Saudi Arabia.
Arabia.
Yeah. So we talked about it a little bit earlier, but in your mind, just too much, uh, too many anachronisms. It was trying to do too
Not
much.
anachronisms is the. I don't know if anachronism is the right word. It might be, but just too
Okay.
much. Like, hey guys, it's 2025, and I get why they're doing that. They're trying to set up
Right.
for like the audience, hey guys, we're back, and it is today
Yeah.
in the modern day.
Okay. There was so there were a few things I was a little bit surprised on. So they had Robertson in there, and he was the fellow that was taking care of their house for a while, I guess, while they were at that fueling station out in Arabia. So I don't, but that was kind of weird because I thought it was a multi-year thing. So I don't know about
Yeah.
that. But then the other part, and it was cool. He was a fine character. I didn't really have any issues with him. But they went super dark with Bill in that
Oh
episode,
yeah.
and
Because Bill.
thought I thought they were gonna carry that on through the season, but really they almost did that and then didn't look back throughout the rest of the season. Every once in a while, you get you get something pop out there that's pretty dark, like in the
Yeah.
beer episode. But really, they didn't go back to that. So, what do you think about how they carried on with Bill?
I kind of wish it was a little more permanent.
Yeah, same.
Because they kind of have him like fat and like can barely walk or manage himself,
Hmm.
and then he's just just back to being old Bill.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I
And
mean,
so,
it's not unheard of in terms of like syndicated television. Even though King of the Hill kind of had more defined story,
hmm
so you know,
yeah. I think I'm with Arthur, especially having watched it now 2 times. Um, the first time it was kind of obnoxious. When I rewatched it, though, I didn't think it was as bad as I initially thought.
yeah,
Um, there were some winks and some nods to people that had done the whole King of the Hill thing, but I think it was okay. It wasn't too bad, and we do see that throughout the season. I remember the Whataburger ad, and I can't remember which ad or which episode that was in, but where they're eating Whataburger right there at the end of it, it was like, well, that's a little in your face, but what are you gonna do?
yeah. I mean, Whataburger was in the original show too, though.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was multiple times.
Oh, okay. Well, then belay my last. Fair enough. Then let's see if I can't. I'm gonna do something. All right, that should be all right. And then let's just bring these guys up.
If I could, if you look up like King of the Hill Whataburger Adult Swim
Yeah.
ad, because like Adult Swim would do ads related to the show sometimes.
Okay. Fair
You'll
enough.
find like Whataburger,
Yeah. All
which
right. So, episode one, we say, and I think Yancey's 100% on the animation. It was terrible,
yeah,
but it
and
is.
yeah,
I don't know. You get over it.
at some point
Then,
your brain just kind of
right. Yeah, I mean, story takes over, and so I'm trying to think of other ones too. What like growing up, things that I watched that were like, "Yee, that's something." Well, okay, so here's one. I actually like the art style in this, but are you familiar with any of the Ralph Bakshi films?
no.
So he did an animated version of Lord of the Rings. He did Fire and Ice.
Yeah,
He
I've heard
did
of that.
Wizards. Okay,
I've heard of it. I've never seen
right.
it, but I probably should as a Tolkien fan.
He
Which I don't
it's.
know how much of a Tolkien fan I can call myself because I only watched the Lord of the Rings movies last year.
But have you read the books?
I've read The Hobbit,
Okay, well,
and that was
you're
required
getting there.
reading in my grandmother's honors English course that I took.
Okay, very good. Did you say your grandmother's? Was she your
Yeah,
English teacher?
my grandmother was my honors English teacher for multiple years of my high school.
That's awesome.
It was very awesome, and everyone was like, "I want her to be my grandmother." And then
Yes.
there was one very particularly hot blonde who always, for some reason, when she's drunk, just falls on me. Uh, like I said, she can be one way. So I'm gonna keep trying that next time I see her.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Okay. So anyway, yeah, Bakshi did a. Actually, we can do that real quick too. He has this weird art style that he does in his stuff, and it's interesting. Like none of his movies are particularly good. But if you go in and watch them, it's almost like the form overcomes the substance, and so they're worth checking out at least once. That's my thoughts, anyways. So like
Okay.
here's his movie Wizards, and you can see it's sort of a throwback to the World War One, where the German soldiers on the horse with the spear.
Yeah.
So right, so
Trying to
he's in the
remember.
gas mask and all that. So he throws back to that. He is a it's not Sephardic, I don't know, but it's not Ashkenazi either. He's some special sort of Jew. I can't remember. Um, uh-oh. And then so Whitaker's coming in with a hot take. I was disenchanted by The Hobbit after. Ah, boy, we could do a stream on that. Yeah, different, tonally very different. Tonally very different. We'll leave it at that. So anyway, Bakshi does his stuff with art, and if you if you focused only on the art, then it might be like, boy, I don't know about this. If you focused only on the story, it would be, boy, that would definitely be, I don't know about this. But I think he transcends it a little bit, and at the very least, he's an interesting note within greater animation there in the 70s and 80s. I forget
Alrighty.
exactly how we got there, but let me get back onto that list of King of the Hill. And then, so the next one was the beer story. This was classic King of the Hill. Hank
Yeah.
versus Bobby. They're both shooting towards a goal. They're in competition with one another, and then of course, they get to the end, and they have some sort of unification in there.
And I think
Um,
there was a good message towards the end
okay,
too. I think of you know even if we're like caught up in like the boomer generation, like the faults of the boomer
yep.
generation. I I don't think we should let our more general critiques of them as a generation get in the way of our love for our older family
Yeah.
members and that get in the way of our relationships with them.
Well, and this was one of them too, where I think judging them, they could have gotten bogged down in sort of like we were talking about with the first episode, that they could have spent the whole season. Ha! Look, it's 2025. Ha! Look, in the beer one especially, it would have been super easy to get bogged down in that fight between what's a good beer and what's not, and hops and ales and so on and so forth.
And the
And
answer is
they,
just truthfully, cold beer is the best beer unless it's an IPA, but that's just my opinion.
well, see, and that's fair. It's drink what you like, and so they were able to take that and they were able to build off of it. And yes, they were competing in those areas, but it never bogged down into the minutia of the beer, into an outright fight between a father and a son, and they were able to keep that soul. And there weren't any cheap shots that were being thrown. But what I did notice about this season is young women often don't come off looking great,
No,
and
they don't.
then no, and it's self-aware. The judge and the show writers were completely self-aware with what they were doing with some of the young women, and
There was
then
even like one of the better, like I would say, more charitable ones in a later episode. So we can talk about it when we get there in more depth. Is like
yeah,
she's kind of making motherhood a clout thing.
yeah,
And even then, that's the
Yes.
one who's
Okay.
doing,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the one who's doing more traditional life.
Yep. And then it starts in this one. I was surprised by how um, the show isn't cruel to Peggy, but she is not given the deference in this season that she was in the original run.
No, she was not.
No, Hank, and Bobby both at different points, are rolling their eyes and they're like, "All right, Mom. All right, Peggy. But like, okay, go do your thing." And that was definitely a difference between the first run and this one, and I was surprised to see that. I think that was also part of the tonal shift in that it wasn't. The story is always sort of how Hank has his fingers in the dam and he's blocking too much craziness from going on. But Peggy in that initial run, especially probably season 6 and onward, is a very strong character, to the point that at times it's just obnoxious to listen to her. I don't hate
Yeah,
her like some folks do, but she gets tiring. This season, I think I almost liked her more because um, she was almost less meaningful, and she had less of an impact. And I think that almost made me like her more. So she's still um, her competition, her competition self,
yeah.
but
She's
it
still.
doesn't.
It doesn't
Yeah,
seem like she is trying to, at times, stir the pot. It seems like she's just trying to. She's kind of refocused on, oh, I want my boys, my husband, and my son to get along and
yeah,
like bond after being away from each other for so long. Which I found that to be quite sweet, actually.
she does. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. It does seem like she's moving into the post-child rearing. What is my life now?
Yeah,
Yep.
and I like that change because it makes sense given like how old she is at the time.
Yeah. So beer story is also where we find out that Bill knows what a gun tastes like.
Yeah,
that, that,
uh,
that
that's not
that line is
unsurprising.
whoo, right. That
Uh,
that line, then they just drop it right there at the beer competition. It's like, daggum, that was a good one.
it was. There's a couple suicide jokes in this episode. I mean, in this
Yeah,
season, which when we get the next one, the charcoal, when it gets a little spicier. I
yeah.
quite liked some of the jokes. I remember texting you about that, or texting the group chat about that, and you're like, "No spoilers." I was like, "But it is true."
Right. Well, that was it. Was that one? So we'll jump right into that one then. Right now, the Bobby gets grilled. I will just send it out there. This is, I'm not saying it's the best episode of the season. It's absolutely in my top quarter of the season. I thought it was one of the better episodes for sure.
Oh, it was most definitely. There was some really. It touched on race more than one would
Oh
expect.
my lands. Yeah, and it took that ball and it was like Harlem Globetrotters or whatever. It's dribbling, it's sitting it on his finger and spinning it. The daggum the black Japanese charcoal salesman
Yes, we were
who
watching
who
that. I was watching it in a group chat, or in like a Discord, stream.
yes.
I was streaming it because I had the Hulu subscription, and I think everyone went, "No, you're not."
Yep. And this is another one of those areas, and we'll get to where they're self-aware of how they're framing the young women in the show. But there was this self-aware aspect to, and I forget what his name was, but the Japanese fella, when Wasana-san is in there, and he says, "If you do this, then I'm going to buy out all the charcoal dealers, and I'm going to become the primary charcoal dealer." And then the Japanese guy says, "And I'm going to claim discrimination on black businesses."
And you can't play two race cards at once. That's not
Oh
allowed.
yeah, oh yeah, right. And so
I was
it
like, "Oh." Okay, that's a kind of anti-woke message right there.
Yes, and that's what I found so interesting about this season was, you know, they're not going to come out throwing Romans and saying,
Well, I mean, the
uh,
Germans in this episode, they got close, but
yes, that's okay,
and it's
yeah,
like, I really do like the fact that in the King of the Hill universe, there's an ethnic German association that's just really concerned with racial purity in Texas. That's
oh, we're going to
hilarious.
go down that route. Yeah,
You machine gunned my granddaddy in World War II.
he was one of
Your
the 50
granddaddy
men.
did. He was one of the 50 men. Oh,
Yeah. So definitely for me, this was one of the better episodes, and I appreciated too because everything you're saying right now is it wasn't I am beating this horse and it's dead, and so I need to find some other framing. But again, this awareness of what's going on and what time we're in is so there was this exploration of a guy that can overreach because he's Japanese and black. And there's this exploration of Bobby being like, well, I've got a little bit of German blood. I've got no Japanese blood. And I'm over here, I'm mixing these two food groups and I'm trying to figure this out. And my last name is Hill and I'm primarily Scots Irish. Where do I fit into this? And so I liked it. I thought they did a pretty fair job with everybody.
yeah,
So
I think so too. I think that there's also a good message at the end, which is like you were striving for authenticity, and because Hank's mad he's using charcoal initially,
right. Yep.
uh,
The whole
but
propane fight.
yeah, but I respect it because you know it's a different tradition, but it's still tradition that you're keeping to. In short,
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So for my money, the Bobby Gets Grilled, that is absolutely one of the better episodes of the season.
might be the best,
It
but
might be. Yeah.
we'll go
So
over the other
then
ones.
what's that?
We'll go over the other ones before we can, I guess, rank
Yeah.
them.
Let's see. Chore money or right? Yeah. That one's the chore money chore. It's so this one was interesting. Boomhauer episodes, even in the original series, they weren't that often. They were more often than Bill, but you didn't have that many Boomhauer episodes. And so, and frankly, I suppose this one, it's more, it frames it out with Boomhauer, but it's still a Hank episode.
Yeah,
It, and so this one too, it was interesting because they go back and they reuse in the first episode, they had the app rating joke with the, uh, whatever their Uber equivalent was. And, Hank's all of the mind that, well, I don't give anybody a five because everybody needs something to strive for.
very boomer
Is
mentality, like,
yes.
but also maybe not a bad part of the boomer
No,
mentality.
well, and so the bigger issue with that one too is I think you're right. It's not bad in principle, but what happens is that all the businesses once they start doing these stupid ratings, they never looked at anything objectively. They always looked at it in extremes. So unless you were filling out everything with fives, it was a loss according to the company. And so then that gets into remedial issues and potentially even paycheck docking, depending on what company you were in. And
Yeah,
so now they might as well, frankly, they might as well get rid of the stars and just go to a thumbs up or a thumbs down system
very much so.
because yeah, I mean, even you will even get at this point emails from your Airbnb that you're going to stay at, and they're like, "Oh, we're striving for five," and it's like, well, if it's pushing you to bring better service to your operation, hey, that's awesome.
I
But if
have
all,
a rule for myself, which is I will only DoorDash once per paycheck.
mhm,
And, you know, I don't want to, I tend to just like say, hey, if you gave me my food and it was correct and you were not, uh, an asshole, you'll get a 5 and an extra tip.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like classic Americanism of, okay, I'm going to tip because you did your job.
Yep.
So, I think Hank is kind of coming from like a perspective where he was in the service industry, which was selling propane, but also a much higher level, like where he was making commission. Whereas I don't think he understands that these people are also kind of doing the same thing to an extent, where
Right.
their commission is, oh, the tip I get from you and the rating I get from you
Yep.
at these gig jobs.
Well, and in some ways, it's YouTube, it's X, it's whatever. They're trying to fight the algorithm and get noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Like I
uh,
got X Premium a couple days ago, and then my follower count shot up more than it
mhm,
had previously in the many months that I had had it.
yeah. So that's an issue. That's the whole setup for it. And if that's the backdrop, the A plot within that one is Hank learning to express himself, which again, like the beer story, this is classic King of the Hill. This is going in, and Hank can't feel anything. He can't express his emotions. He can't communicate. And it was good. I think it was better than average this season.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't say it was anything particularly memorable.
yeah. I like. There was at least one part of it that I won't go into too much detail because it's like family stuff. But like when he's talking to the young couple,
Yeah.
I thought that was nice because that's actual like something an older member of the community probably should do
Yes,
is give
that's
good
fair.
advice to young couples. I thought
Mhm.
that's a good uh, use of his age and experience as opposed to what some people do, which is just, oh, just figure it out. It's your own problems.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that and it does play around in that a little bit in that um Hank isn't going there. So what it is that he goes and he completes a job and he gets a poor rating. And the reason he gets a poor rating isn't because he didn't do the job. He did the job great, but that he didn't have any sort of uh boy, I hate to go there, but I guess the new culture of empathy or of talking things out. And so because he wasn't used to talking with people, he gets a poor rating. And so it's this question of, well, I did my job right. What is going on here? And he washes out, like you said, washes out where he takes on that role of leadership within the community. Um, eh, there's some stuff in there that just felt kind of contrived, but at the same
Yeah,
time, I mean, like, okay, so in particular, I'm thinking this young couple, they've got a YouTube channel. The dad within this couple, the husband within the couple, is that classic stereotype of a weak man who, when I say Hank went over there to do a job, he was hanging curtains, and
yes.
it's mind-boggling to me that this guy couldn't watch a video on YouTube or something and get his daggum curtains hung.
Yeah, that's very fair. Like, even I know how to hang curtains. I'm not going to even claim to be the most particularly handy person, but I could watch a
Right.
YouTube video and hang curtains.
Hmm.
He also looks like Todd Howard, if you know who that is, from
I don't.
Bethesda. If you look up Todd Howard, he's a game developer he was the one behind the studio that made Skyrim, Fallout 3.
Okay.
He looks just like him, and so there was a lot of fans of that in the voice chat that I was watching it in, and we all just lost our shit saying, "It's Todd Howard! It's him
Okay.
in King of the Hill! Oh my god!"
Fair enough. Do you think it was?
What?
Do you think that was an intentional nod?
No, I think the Todd
Okay.
Howard just has a very generic face.
Okay, fair enough. So here's an interesting one. Let's see. So Middleton says that he's been a service gig bottom feeder so often in the past that he takes pains to tip on as many occasions as possible. And then he goes back to reference the do unto others. And that is it's an interesting point, and it is like we can stand back and we can complain about the American tipping culture, and I get it. But as we have the opportunity to bless others, like it's a bad system.
Yeah,
I'll grant all that, right? But as we have that opportunity to bless others, it does seem like we should be participating in that in some way.
yeah, and also it is part of American culture, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
We can probably reform it, but I think that it shows an innate generosity within the American spirit, and innate goodwill, even
Hmm.
that we want to do good by those who are helping us, even if it's just like, hey, they're just bringing me my food.
Yeah.
Like I had my one DoorDash order per paycheck the other week, and it was a very kindly older gentleman, and he was saying God bless, and I was like, well, you know what, you're getting an extra tip and a good review because I prefer you over some other people that are doing this.
Yep.
You actually seem to care, even if it is just a little bit of a gig job.
Right. Yeah. So we moved from that one into New Ref in Town. All right. Do you have any? I have some very strong opinions on episode 5, the New Ref in Town. Do you have any opinions on it?
I think that it is the closest we'll get to Hank being gay,
Okay.
because he might as well be. That might as well be the secret here.
That's funny. So from my perspective, this is probably the worst episode in the season.
Yeah,
I,
it
I
goes
I
far
thought I
too out
for
there.
go ahead. Yeah.
It gets far too out there.
Yes, and I think that's a big part of it too. So in this one, you have the A plot of Hank saying, "Oh, I turned into a soccer fan when I was overseas. That's fine. That's fine. I get it." But then it just different things keep going on, and I like how you said too far. And you tell me if this is sort of what you were thinking of. Um, so not only did Hank turn into a soccer fan while he's over there, it turns Peggy on. It gets her all lit up that he can
Yeah,
be
it
defiant,
gets
and so it does
yeah.
that. And then Dale gets into his whole government
It,
shtick, which is kind of funny, but the whole soccer setup just it I don't know, it didn't feel particularly earned. And then the other one was because Hank, what it was that Hank was working on a propane tank and he just happened to hear the roar of the crowd and see how luscious the grass on the field was. And apparently that's what did it. So there was that, and then the B plot to it, and this might make me hate it even more, is how Bobby is too nice, and he's incapable of making adult decisions to some degree because he's too nice. He can run a store, and he can keep the purchase orders going within his restaurant. He can do all that, but he can't go and buy a car. And not only can he not go and buy a car, but he winds up with a horse. Like it is just too much.
yeah, it's too
It,
much. It's like
yep.
uh, the Better Business Bureau would have gotten that son of a bitch. B, uh, no, I don't think Bobby would just take the horse. Like Bobby might be too nice, but I don't think that's just like him being an idiot and gullible.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't
And
think you
it
had
goes
really up to
beyond.
this point shown that he was gullible. If his character up to that characterization up to that point was he's gullible, then fine, but it really wasn't.
Yeah. This there's just probably the horse thing more than anything, and it just seemed like it kept stacking. And I know this right here is a nitpick. I realize it, and I will also admit my bias because I have horses, whatever. Um, but Joseph walking in and being like, "Well, I spent $200 on apples," and he's got bushels of apples, and it's like, really,
No,
Joseph
I
didn't
worked
know
on
to
a
just
horse ranch. Like, no, you go buy a bag of horse feed, my brother.
everywhere in this nation has a Tractor Supply, if not a local feed store, and they were
My
that
town has
stupid. It's
both.
just right.
You can get both. You can go get a one
So
of I don't remember the brand name since it's been a minute since I worked on the horse ranch, but
it felt too much. Well, and so maybe that's part of it too. In that we've been talking about King of the Hill usually does a pretty good job of tying it back, and so that whole issue with Bobby and the better grilled one, where Bobby gets grilled, is that he's going back to his youth in that he loved anime and he loved Japanese stuff, and he's been over to Japan because what would that be? Is a Japanese uncle, you know? And so there's that part going on. And then he is connected with the German food because of the German stuff going on up in northern Texas, and he sees this stuff. He's around it. And so you're telling me that he has a bigger connection with Dagenham Japan and German Texans. And he grows up and he notices all that, but he doesn't notice in Texas feed stores and horses, and it's beyond stupid.
yeah, it's really something.
So yeah, it was probably, and not
And
only
even
not
then, he spent some time on a horse ranch in one episode in the original run at his
yes,
grandmother's. So, like,
that's
he should
right.
know some basics.
hmm Well, and how hard is it, even if you never spend any time around horses, to know that I need a car? A horse is not as good as a car. It
Right.
was just it, and Bobby Hill's character has never been Gomer Pyle or Don Knotts and Daggum Andy Griffith. Like, he's never been the stupid archetype. He does foolish things, but he's never been stupid. So
Yeah.
yeah, for me, this episode was memorable in the worst of ways. That moves us on. Unless, did you have any final thoughts on that one? Or are you ready to go on to Peggy's
No,
fade out?
I'm good.
Okay, so Peggy's fade out. This was now that I'm thinking about it, it is interesting because we got a Bill episode, or excuse me, we got a Boomhauer episode in Chore Money Chore Problems. I need to say it like a rapper: Chore Money Chore Problems. There we go. Uh, so that was our Boomhauer episode. Now we're getting a Bill episode and Peggy's fade out. And this one, I think we can kind of apply the same idea in that it was pretty out there, it was pretty wild, but this one I didn't mind nearly as much. I thought it was kind of funny, the whole setup. And it's that Bill has been living a double life on the other side of Ireland, in the black part of Ireland, claiming
Yeah.
that Peggy was his wife, and he formed his neighbor Hank into a version of himself. It,
Yes. To kind of therapeutically with the blacks talk about his life.
yes, yeah, and so he didn't have to take responsibility or accountability and all of that, but he could work through his issues by talking about how bad
There was
Hank was, and
also a reference
yeah.
in there that I found interesting, which was after he was forced to retire, which makes me around COVID, which makes me think that it was because he would not take the jab in the military. But
Oh, that's I didn't even catch that, but that's an interesting one. I can see
yeah,
that
like
flying.
even though it was shown he was like very scared of it. But there's also like,
Mm,
I think that could be a reason.
yeah. So this one was like the one before it. It was out there, but this one I thought was more. I thought it was more earned. I liked this one more. I didn't think it was a particularly great one in the season, but it worked. It was fine.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I think the end where it kind of shows Bill having to come back to reality as a way kind of
Yes.
process for him. That's certainly interesting.
Well, that was, and one of them that caught me in there, there's a line that goes something along the lines of because it gets out there and Bill ends up Hank is aware of what Bill is doing at this point, and he's threatening to spill the beans to all of Bill's black friends. And he says, "I'm going to go in there and I'm going to make sure that they understand what's going on." And Bill's all like, "No, no, I'll take care of it." And his way of taking care of it is throwing a funeral for Peggy. And so, in the midst of this, he tells Hank, he's like, "Oh, it's wonderful. They're all bringing food over and they're making sure that I'm doing okay. I guess that's just part of black culture." And Hank said something to the extent of, "Bill, that's a part of every culture. Like, have you never been around funerals? Have you never tried to take care of
Yeah,
people in their mourning?"
and I think that kind of shows that because it's always Bill who's mourning. Like,
Yeah,
Bill is the one who needs to be taken care of. He's not really the "I'm going to take care of you" type,
yeah. And so
which
that
there
was,
is, which there is a selfish nature to Bill. Like I
yeah,
think the show really does touch on at times.
yeah. And so I think that's a good point in that in the midst of his frailty, and boy, that's a deep subject there. In the midst of his frailty, Bill is often the most selfish and the most needy out of the
Yeah, I
characters.
mean, to, and this is a completely different context than what this usually is. But he's a useless eater, basically,
Yeah,
in the friend group. He really doesn't provide like they, I'm not saying they should abandon Bill to the wolves, but like
right.
Bill doesn't really reciprocate a lot of the effort that his friend group has put into making sure he doesn't off himself.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and it is unfortunate because you get, especially there in the earlier seasons, you would catch a glimpse of him potentially being able to transcend the madness. The one episode I'm thinking of in particular was his birthday episode where he ends up taking the tank all through the base, and it's like Bill is capable of things, but at some point he got knocked down. Well, what it was after his divorce, but he gets knocked down and he cannot get himself back up again. And so he is, that's, I think how you put it, a useless eater. It is a good way of putting it in that, in general, he's just an albatross around everybody's neck. He's just extra weight they have to carry. But I mean, good on them. They're willing to carry it most of the time. I guess good on them.
I mean, yeah, there's a aspect of charity, so
Yeah. That is one of those difficult life situations. So we'll go from Daggum Peggy's fade out to any given hill day. Now this is the fun one. Where do you fall on this one?
is this the GH one?
This is no, this is the one where they go to the football camp.
Oh yes. So yeah, it's a little out there,
It,
but also speaking to a Cowboys fan, I think they would. I think anyone in their situation would do what Willow did. Uh,
yeah, so I was gonna say actually on this one we won't give any spoilers as we've been given spoilers throughout the whole thing. But this one is so out there. if you watch one episode, this is not even the best episode, but it just makes me laugh. So I
Oh
want
yeah.
people to go in there with no understanding. I will just say that there is there is, well, that's not entirely fair because the big plot on this episode too is um, back to the beer story. This is Hank and Bobby trying to figure out how to connect. Now, there's no whereas in the beer story, it's that classic competition. In this one, there isn't really any competition. Bobby's just trying to figure out how to connect with Hank and do things for and
But
with him.
I like both aspects because that was part of the original series too. To be fair,
Yep.
Hank and Bobby learning to work together despite their
Yes.
like personality differences.
Yeah.
So I don't mind that at all.
Yeah. I mean, I thought this was a fun episode.
It was.
Even before we get to the very end, it was a fun episode, and it is that there, at least for me, the idea of trying to do something with your dad, and then that's sort of getting pushed, seemingly, at least in your world, it gets pushed to the side because somebody can do it with your dad better than you can. So then you get all self
That's what she
conscious, and
said.
you're
But
like, but. You know, it is a it is one of those things that boys have to grow through on the way towards manhood of being like, well, if that doesn't work with my dad, or if somebody can do it, but like, in what way can I connect with my dad?
yeah, like
So,
you have to find. Like my dad has a lot of health issues, so finding shit
yep,
we can do, uh, which I need to do more with him. Admittedly, I feel kind of bad about how busy I am sometimes. Uh, but finding stuff that you can do with your dad is kind of a bitch sometimes. And
yeah,
Bobby is not the most athletic, he never has been. So
yep,
Willow is, Willow really shocked me as a character because her design gives off a certain vibe of liberal woman when she's very
right.
much not. Uh,
She is that sort of aware, self-aware degenerate.
she is, but also I feel like I could fix her. Uh,
Probably,
like she's the one, she's the type you could fix.
yeah. Yeah, and that comes about. We see that first time when she's talking with Connie, and
Yeah,
Connie's going on to which we haven't even touched on.
yeah.
But
I feel like we've
Connie,
stepped around that one.
that's fair. So one of the big things this season is Connie dealing with E&M, ethical non-monogamy, and
She's a hoe.
it's not just an episode. That's a particular arc through the season is this exploration of it. And this was one of those things that I actually thought was that is not a question that we would have dealt with in the 90s, not even really the 2000s. But I thought this was a perfect issue for them to be dealing with
Yeah,
nowadays. And
I
and
think that how they do it is not in the way I would have expected a show in 2025 to do it,
100%.
which
You
is,
know, there's never any finger wagging in this idea of oh Connie you whore. But there is Willow sitting there as Connie is talking about how, oh, ethical non-monogamy. It allows us to bypass all the feelings of
and
jealousy
get some
and
side dick.
anger. Yeah, and Willow just jumps in and gets a side dick, and it was she just cut through it. I loved it. So
Yeah, it was.
her character, I thought was I really enjoyed her character,
I did
and I'm
too. More than I expected to, just like from her
yeah.
base character design.
Yeah, well, it was that immediately, and good for them. They played us, and they knew they were going to when they did it. But she is other than her weight, she is that classic redditor female phenotype.
I don't know if I'd say like Redditor female because that I don't know if she really gave me lib vibes. like, well, besides like her appearance, but in like the way she says stuff, because like a redditor would never like just
Okay,
call ethical non-monogamy out for what it is.
that's true. That there is a uh, I had this queued up. Let me figure out if I can find this one. There is a tweet from because I'm thinking go ahead and monologue a bit for a second because I am
Yeah. So the thing with Willow is her dad was a football coach, classic Texas, well, classic was middle America profession that people would really care about, you know. And she's kind of getting into like the homesteading living when she meets Bobby, which is she's like stealing, I think, lard. Well, not stealing, but taking lard from his dumpster, I think, or grease, so she can make soaps, like very uh, down to earth type stuff like that. Uh, which kind of makes me think that she may look as she does, but there's more of a traditional side to her than there is to Connie because she hasn't gone through the kind of indoctrination of uh, of higher education.
well. So I think she did. She started it, but
She did.
she was one of those weird crunchies that just said like, this is dumb. And so there is some sort of splitting of truth in there and seeing past the shenanigans, which doesn't make her. It does not mean she's living a saintly life right now, but
No, but she's fixable beyond.
yeah, and it did remind me there is definitely this sort of right wing crunchy crunchy stuff going on. And so, can you see on the screen right now this
I
meme? I
can
put
let me. I can't read it, so you would have to,
that.
if you
Yeah, that's
could.
fine. I'll read it out loud. But I've posted this a few times because I think it's kind of funny, and there's truth. There's truth in the midst of it. Is so you've got this girl up here, and it says, "Once all the vax die off, racist schizo poltards will have to repopulate the planet with big titty hippie chicks who trusted their healing crystals and horoscope more than some big pharma science experiment. We're all gonna make it."
I mean, that's true. Because me myself, the thing with women is they will conform to your politics, and I found this out because I dated a bunch of goth chicks. Uh, well, at least one I would say I dated. I won't talk about my degeneracy too much, but
God is good.
God is good. Uh, and while she was with me, she was like, "I hate Hillary Clinton."
Yeah,
So it's like the alternative nose ring chick will love you and will
yeah.
more likely than not conform to your politics.
Well, so Charlemagne made a post. Now this is probably years ago, so I'm going to paraphrase as best I remember. But it was this idea that the metal chicks and the girls that have been beat up a little bit and are okay with having been beat up often do better in uh, agricultural areas and the homesteading life and all of that because they at different points had to develop their own grit. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I actually, what was it? Oh, it came up when so there's a documentary called uh, Greener Pastures that I reviewed months ago on the stream, and part of what I got into is how difficult moving out and starting the ag thing can be with a woman who's never done that before. And so if she's never done that, I think Charlemagne was probably onto something there with the idea that she's got to have grit from somewhere. And so, sometimes the metal chick, the goth chick, whatever, it does turn into a good thing. Not always, not
No,
generalities
not in my
here,
case,
but
it didn't. But
yeah. Well, we we live life in generalities, but we're all stumbling towards eternity. So Willow, I mean, overall, I mean, just to go back to Willow, I think she's an interesting character. Frankly, I hope to see her. I hope to see her in season two. They kind of left that door open, kind of didn't. We'll see.
yeah, and they also did make a good point. Well, I won't spoil it, which is do it nicely and run,
Okay.
which is
Now,
very true.
is that a speaking from experience type thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. All right. So we'll go from that one, which again, if you're gonna watch an episode and only one episode, watch that just because it's horrifying and funny.
Oh yes.
Um, okay. So the conscious uncoupling.
I don't remember the
I-
episodes by name by this point.
What's that?
I don't remember what the episode is by name at this point. So,
So this is the one where we get into the Khan's divorce.
oh, okay, yes. Uh,
I thought this one was interesting.
I did too. Uh, particularly, if some parts of it felt a little contrived, in my opinion, but
Sure.
that's just TV at that point that I'm
Yeah.
complaining about.
While we're on the subject of women, because I think one of the things we'll have to get into about this episode is Khan in general, because he did not come off well in this season,
No, and it might
and
just be
that's
change
always
of
sort
voice
of been his
actor.
shtick. What's that?
It might just be change of voice actor,
Sure.
but
We'll get into Khan here in a second. So the setup we've already given it away. Khan and Min are divorced. However, they are living as if they're married. And Connie is aware of this, but nobody else in the community is aware of it, to the point that they're even having a 30th anniversary wedding party. And it comes out at the party that they are divorced, and everybody finds out, and it's the big hubbub. What I thought was interesting in relation to Connie was this is where the whole E&M, the ethical non-monogamy that we said has an arc throughout the season. It's where it really comes into play in that she's there and her supposed, what do they even call that, like main boyfriend, like if you're doing the
yeah,
whole non
I
her main
guess
squeeze, I don't know.
her home slice.
Right. So her her prime dick is
I was gonna say
there.
it, but I didn't want to.
Right. So that number one D, he's there with her at the party where it comes out in front of everybody that her parents are divorced and their life is a sham. And this is where if the screenwriters ever took a stab at E&M, well, I guess they did the whole sidekick thing, but if they took a stab at it, it's in this
They
episode
took a stab at
because
it with the side dick thing, and then at this one, they
yeah,
just like full bore swung a mace at it.
they absolutely did. They blew it up because they show Joseph as this guy who all he
Oh,
ever wanted was
chain.
Connie for a set. What I say? Yeah, I said
No,
chain.
chain. It's Chain, not Joseph. Joseph is just goofball. He's just a goofball like his dad, not his
Oh, was
biological
I calling
dad.
him Joseph for a second?
Yeah,
Poor Mr. Gribble. Yeah. Joseph is actually really funny this season.
yeah,
I
he
thought
is.
his
I like
character was
him.
great.
He's
Yeah.
uh, he's just Dale, which I like that they show.
Yeah.
Okay,
Dude,
he's
that
Dale.
the trash bag roll, or even the fact that in the beer episode he was like, I got to go set this up. I got to go find something on these guys so I can get Bobby the to win, and Dale's doing the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and it's like
Joe,
they're like it's a real father-son bonding moment that they're both just
yeah.
stalking and committing crimes together.
There's still the absolute cluelessness of John Redcorn. There
Yeah,
is he is Dell's son, and
even
there's
if that doesn't kind of make sense when you think about it, whatever. I'm willing to put that
yeah,
aside.
yep.
Um,
Well, and then going back to what's potentially our favorite episode, the Bobby Gets Grilled. He's in there and he's saying, "Do you know how hard it is to be a white guy and pick a Halloween costume?" It's like, all right, Joseph. Yeah, great character this season. Really enjoyed him. So I'm
yes,
sorry. Chain is in there as that primary D for Connie, and it washes out that all she was a sackmate. She was somebody to hang around in bed with. There was nothing more there because when her parents are publicly admitting to her to their divorce, when the Asian community is taking a dump on them, and Chain is part of that Asian community, and so he more than the other people of Kanye's age group should be aware of what this means in their culture. He doesn't care. He's just ready to go and get more time with the ladies and just leaves her on the cutting room floor, so to speak. And I thought that was a very I'm trying again. I'm trying to think of a better saying than self-aware, but I thought that was a very self-aware moment within the season.
I
And
would
I'm
agree.
saying like this is just it was stupid. This what she's participating in is not good for her. And it's giving this young man an opportunity. Now, granted, they also have to set up an antagonist protagonist issue with Bobby, but the backdrop to um, Wasana-san being the one that Bobby's fighting against for the affections of Connie, they're also just setting it up that he never cared about Connie to begin with. And
Yeah,
they did that as well in can't remember if it was the beer story or whatever, but Connie sends cookies to Bobby saying, "I don't want to enter into E&M with you because you're not boyfriend material, you're husband material." So
yeah,
they never get to Bobby, but
yeah. They get to
uh,
some other poor dude who has a long night ahead of him
it's,
on the couch for many
well,
months.
his wife says, "I'm not going through this again."
Yeah,
Um, yeah, but so that was the Connie thing, and that, like you said, that's where they took the mace to it and just straight up said that the lifestyle that Connie is engaging in right now isn't good for her. Nothing good is
yeah,
coming out of it. So there was that with her, and then Han. It was always his shtick that he had the better pool or the better car, or he had access to a better country club, all of that. Uh, but on this one, he just came off as shriveled and bitter when Hank and the other guys are saying, "Hey, come out and have a beer with us." Just relax for a second. Life isn't over. And he looks at them like they're retarded,
yeah. Would not completely out of character, but
right?
still.
It
Uh,
was I think that was maybe the second darkest character interaction of the season.
yeah,
Yeah, I think maybe Bills in the first episode was the primary one, but whatever, they ran right over that and laughed about it, and it wasn't a thing really for the rest of the season. But that one with Khan, that's
it's
the
that
ending note of his character, if I remember correctly.
yeah,
So, and that, like Wasp was saying earlier, that doesn't even get into the fact that there is a new voice actor. There's actually multiple. new voice actors in here, and they had to switch some things around.
Because
But
some people
overall,
died, unfortunately.
what's that?
Because some people died, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. So that actually brings up an interesting point to me. Luann and Happy
Lucky
did. I know I said Happy, I don't know, but Luann and Lucky, they did not get mentioned at all.
once, which feels odd.
I and it is like, what are they? So now that Brittany Murphy and Tom Petty are gone, like I understand that, but at the same time, there could have been uh, a meeting between Bobby and Gracie or something. I thought, or even I mean, maybe it would have been too dark if they. I mean, frankly, they could have killed him off somehow, a car accident or something, and Peggy and Hank could have gone when they landed back in Texas, like gone to the grave site to see, or even just mentioned it if Peggy had said something along the lines of, "Oh, and don't forget, we gotta go to the gravesite and see Luann and Lucky."
Yeah, it would have been dark, but also I think it would have been better than just not addressing it.
Yeah, because they just nothing, not a single mention
And
in the entire
maybe in
season.
the next season they will address it.
I think they're gonna
Hopefully,
have to, honestly.
they have to. I mean, like they
I
addressed
think so.
freaking GH of all people.
Yes, right? Daggum, what's
So
her
it's like
name? Who
Dee
was it
Dee.
that married? Yes, Dee Dee was in there, right? So
It's
they've
like I'm
got to
glad they
break.
addressed it, but you had two more prominent characters.
Yes,
Like you don't even have to say like they're killed off. You could say, maybe they didn't break the cycle. Maybe it fell apart.
yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it was destiny that was going to fall apart again, and they end up getting a domestic or something, which would also be dark. But they wouldn't be dead.
That'd be pretty dark. So, yeah, I don't know. Now, having said that, though, based on different characters we saw this year, they don't necessarily have to kill off the character. They could just bring in new voice actors.
Yeah, they could. I hope they
So,
do, but
yeah,
you
I
know
don't
it.
know.
It just felt kind of jarring to me because it's like they got to address it at some point, right? They just
Yes,
never do.
yeah, and that was my thoughts. Is the fact that not once in the season Luann or her husband or her daughter, none of them were mentioned. It just seemed eh. So we'll see come season two. Anything else on this one with Khan and men getting divorced?
No,
Yeah.
not really, except that I like how it shows. I like the end scene where Hank and Peggy are the only ones left, and it shows that
Mm,
hey, they're dancing, Keith David singing, Bobby brings Connie some food. I think that was sweet. Now, we did
yeah.
miss the karaoke scene where it shows the flashback, which I liked, where they're singing and it's like, oh, it's puppy love.
Yeah. Well, and actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we didn't talk about the B plot in there. The B plot in this one was that, arguably you could even swap them and say this is the A plot and Kahneman were B plot. Regardless, this is an episode where it opens with Peggy telling a little white lie, according to herself, and Hank being like, "I'm not gonna lie for you,"
Yeah,
and that idea goes throughout the episode. And I don't know. I'm trying to remember the first run if they ever did that with Hank refusing to lie for Peggy. And that's another one where I didn't particularly love the ending. Like I see what they're going for in the ending of this, but I'm not a fan of lying. And so when they get Hank to bend the truth there at the end and all that, it's like, well, It's sweet, but I'm not
Yeah,
the
I don't
biggest
like the
fan of this.
moral of it, but
And I'm not even
I
sure that
like.
that's really a Hank thing to do.
No, it feels out of character on that part.
Yep.
But my liking of it was more on the basis of I like seeing these characters in a sweet way.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So after this one, no Hank left behind. Now this one was if if the one with the soccer and the horse was the worst one, I don't know that this was the worst one, but maybe this is the most controversial one. This was the incel episode
Yeah,
with Good
and
Hank.
there's parts of it I kind of agree with, and then there's parts of it I
Yeah.
don't. So,
And
like,
yeah. I don't know that you're never gonna please everybody, and there's definite overlap in there are minds in this field that I'm trying to be aware of. There are there's overlap between right wing and dissident right and heritage American and manosphere and red pill and pick your poison, pick your title, pick your label. Um, there is there's some overlap in these different areas, and there are I don't know, just be discerning. I just there's too many minds, man. Like
you know what? I'm going to step all over them personally because I don't really give a shit with one particular thing. It's what happens when you tell gripers that they have their own problems that they need to overcome.
dig into that a little bit because I'm not sure we're on the same page.
I, I don't know if we are, but it's like there's just people who think they blame everything but themselves, kind of at some point,
Okay.
where it's everyone else's fault that they are lonely, that they are, and I'm not going to
Hmm.
go into a full boomer pick yourself up by your bootstraps because there
Yeah.
are real societal concerns that have stopped young men from being in a place where they need to be, obviously, but there is also this just like sense of some people in the manosphere and the online right of you've never touched a woman, have you? Uh, like you treat women. I don't want to go feminist because there are certain truths in the manosphere and the right wing more generally about how women are societally
Right.
viewed, but also your interpersonal relationships with them aren't as complicated as I think a lot of people make it out to be.
Hmm.
To where,
Yeah. I think that's a good point. I think the other part is the easy answer or the easy framing of what you're saying is that we could talk all day about female accountability. What accountability are you taking for your situation?
yes, and I mean Andrew Tate was saying that, and I don't like Andrew Tate, but shit, um, he was like, you're blaming the small hats for all your problems, but they're not making you not go to the gym.
Yeah.
They're not making you not be able to do this. You can still do plenty within your life to improve it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You fit like mm, everything is sort of an issue of moderation and emphasis. And
Yeah,
so the
and I'll say that I don't agree with the full extent that the episode takes it, where
yeah.
there are uh, actual legitimate concerns for
Mm,
young men societally that have held them back. But
yeah.
also, I think that Hank does have a point of, hey, I think you're kind of viewing women societally as the ones that you do as you, I think you're imputing your societal view of women onto your interpersonal relationships with women.
Yeah. Well, it's um, so there were two things running through my mind, and the one is that have you ever heard the Serenity Prayer, the 12 step guys or whatever?
Uh, don't think so.
It's short enough that I'm gonna pull it up real quick, but it's this idea of affecting what you can affect, and then okay, so it's God grant
Oh,
me
is
the
it?
serenity to accept the
Yeah, it's
things.
the one that they say at AA meetings.
Yeah, yeah,
That one,
yeah.
yeah.
The serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And like it's super boomer, and it's too easy to use it as an excuse. But like those posters that they had in the early 2000s, they had these super banal sayings about, keep striving to succeed or whatever. And they've got an eagle on them. Like the school posters
Yeah.
I'm talking about. Yeah. So yeah, it's banal and it's silly, but somewhere in there is some
Is an
truth, and
element of
it's
truth.
yes. So don't use the Serenity Prayer as an excuse to not take any charge over your life. But um, if everybody's if all the girls are are the worst form of women that you can imagine, but my gal isn't, do I keep focused on those other girls, or do I be grateful for what I'm dealing with and
What God has given me.
deal with issues? What's that?
What God has given you.
Yeah, absolutely. And do I just deal with issues as they arise in my relationship, rather than being focused on how evil women are in general? So, it is one of those things that who was it? There was somebody on X today, and he was just like gender wars and all that. It's the least interesting thing to me, and I'm kind of in that place, in that I don't want. So you hit on it a few minutes ago. There's definitely structural issues right now that feed into the worst elements of the feminine. Just like if we're honest, there have been at different points in history structural elements that enable the worst parts of masculinity.
Yeah, of course. And I think that my big problem with the gender war thing is we speak of gender complementarianism,
Yeah,
or sexual complementarianism as a
yeah,
biblical standard, for Pete's
hmm
sake. We need to live up to that. We need to call out real problems on both sides of the issue, because there are.
yeah,
I think that the manosphere tends to err too heavily onto the feminine problems, and there are very real ones.
yep,
But also, I don't think we need to go with the all women are whores, having sex with women is gay.
yeah.
I think you can tell who I really hate when I say this stuff, and that's fine. I don't make my Gorther bashing hidden. Uh, it
Well,
it speaks to a very juvenile mindset about you girls are icky and they have cooties, in my opinion.
yeah. Well, the big one this past week was, and there's always something, right? And we're going to get into what I think is the bigger issue. There's always something with women, whether they're bitching at each other last week over rings and who's
Yeah, with
burning coal and who's
Sarah
dating.
Stock and
Yeah.
Pearl Davis, both of
Well,
whom I'm not a big fan of, but
yeah, right. And well, and that's why I was going with the whole burning coal. Like, what one's talking about, one's burning coal, and then the other one's like, no, I dated Dominican, and it's like, just shut up. And now we've gone from that last week to this week. It's all Lila Rose and whoever it was that was on her. And look, to my way of thinking, the bigger issue isn't anything can be taken in an uncharitable way. And if we're looking to find stupid things that women are saying, it's pretty easy. Uh, but I think I think the bigger issue in all of that is I'm probably of the mind that, yeah, Lila Rose, what she said this week was, it was whatever. It was a couple of women they were discussing something that one shouldn't have been aired in front of men. And then two, it was framed in the worst possible way once it got released. And that's what people were getting upset about. But, um, no, that guy that's getting upset is saying, "Oh, I should be able to have my wife 2 hours after she had a baby." And then no woman, especially, I'm taking for granted here that these are Christian people. So a Christian guy isn't going to say after his wife just had a baby, "Let's go, it's time to go. I need it now." And a Christian woman isn't going to be standing there saying, "Well, you've got another week and a half till we can do it." Like that's not how it works.
Yeah,
There's this mutual charity that exists in the relationship so that both people are coming out ahead and they're both cared for.
it should be out of a woman should submit to her husband out of a loving obligation, not out of
Not out of fear, not out of, and
yeah.
I'm making my, whatever, man. Like these are things that sort of have to be teased out. The bigger issue, I think, is that, yeah, Lila and whoever should not have a platform where they're influencing men.
No,
That's the bigger issue.
not at all. Just the way Radfem Hitler shouldn't have a platform where she's
Oh,
influencing
good
women.
Lord. Yeah, I don't know that she should be influencing anyone.
In
She
fact, I
needs
think
to
that
go
if we
off.
were a sane society, she would be in like a mental asylum.
Well, I
Perhaps.
mean, if even, right, like she just needs her internet privileges need to be taken away. She needs to go on a sabbatical, walk through the woods day after day, and just decompress. She doesn't need to be influencing anybody other
Maybe
than
with a
herself.
lobotomy. Who knows?
I mean, something. Just and so that's the bigger issue rather than what exactly they were saying. It's like, all right, well, to in a way we're causing our own issues because we shouldn't even really be. This is going to come out wrong, but I know what I'm trying to say. uh, I'm saying that men shouldn't be privy to these conversations, and what I mean by that is that there needs to be, and I'm so sick of the excuse that, well, there aren't, but there needs to be older. It's that idea of Titus 2 women, older women that have walked down these roads and can speak into the lives of younger women. And yeah, we do need to take seriously the effects of feminism and say, are we really in the scripture? Are we really looking at what the church has promoted throughout history? And is that what we're going for? So those are all legitimate questions. But women shouldn't have a platform and men shouldn't be all up in their grill in women's conversations, if
Agreed.
that makes sense. So that was a bit of a tangent.
Yeah, but one that we needed to have. I think a lot of people on the right do.
Yeah. Well, and I guess so that I was trying to remember how do we even get there, but that was the No Hank Left Behind, the
Yeah,
incel episode of the season.
which I'm more familiar with the incel side of the equation because I tend to keep myself out of the quabblings of uh, online e-thoughts.
Yeah.
I try my best,
It's
but I
I
see
mean
plenty of
it
young
might end
men.
up being it might
But
end
I
up
see
being the
plenty of young men.
you
Sorry,
see plenty of what?
but I see plenty of, at least in my space, these young men who, for some reason, can't grasp that maybe, just maybe, it's not the Jews that are stopping you from. I'm sorry, shit.
I mean you're right.
Maybe just maybe it's not the small hats stopping you from getting a girlfriend. Maybe it's the fact you're uh, worshiping a gay Mexican man all day on the internet and not talking to people, and you don't have a job and you live in mommy's basement.
Yeah. and so it's like, oh, here's one. Like you're talking about everything that you could lose dealing with women, but do you honestly have anything to lose?
A lot of them know.
Right, and I think that's you got to get there, and so it's before we can even get to the prenup conversation. Do you have anything to save? So, and I really do think, and I don't think in this particular area it's fence sitting to say that there there is something there is some sort of synthesis that has to occur between men and women to achieve
A good
Christ,
society,
husband, wife, children. Yeah, yeah. You know,
like there absolutely
if
has to be.
if we didn't have to worry about husbands caring for their family, then the Apostle Paul would have never had to tell us, husbands, um, love your wives. The Apostle Peter would have never had to say, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. There wouldn't have been these commands in there. So there's commands for both of us, and we both have to be submitted to those commands, um, in order to please God and live the best life possible. So, if nothing else, No Hank Left Behind was touching on those questions, the solutions, the characters that were presented. Eh, I don't,
Yeah,
but I will say I don't think it was a bad episode. The soccer episode was a bad episode. I don't think this one was.
this one was just mid.
Yeah. So then the last one was a sounder instrument, and that's the pig one because the group of pigs is a sounder.
Yeah,
And this one was so maybe this one is where Peggy sort of got back her mojo, I guess. Because we
yeah,
said we didn't say she was beat up on, but there were some differences in how she was taken care of this season compared to the previous 13. Uh, I don't think she had as much influence, which frankly is a good thing. But in this one, Peggy ends up getting super excited about, well, okay. So the fellas go out and, as an opportunity to help somebody, and they go out to get some hogs off this person's land. And Hank's all about, we're going to do it slow, we're going to do it right. And the other guys are like, we're going to take guns and shoot some pigs. And they do. and and they thought it was so much fun that they're going to start a business. Peggy gets wind of this, and she's already dealing with this idea of what how am I providing? This does sort of go back to the beer story and this place where Peggy's trying to understand how she fits in, and she wants to know how she's providing, how their money is working for them, and she's convinced that by investing in this whole pig company, pig business, that she can earn the money because Hank has always been along the lines of you don't risk your money. And you, not in a big
yeah. He's a
way.
very conservative investor
Yes, and this is we're not even talking crypto. We're talking like 5% bonds rather than
in
a
freaking
potential
Saudi
10% of it.
Aramco.
Yeah. Yep. And so Peggy's trying to figure out how does she get involved. She wants to be way more risky than Hank, and so it is this tug of war in there. And I think I think we're far enough into this stream, and then if you didn't know, there's spoilers. So they both do some flip flopping in there, and sort of walking in the other one's shoes, and it all works out in the end. And I think that was this is another one that maybe it's a mid episode, but the heart was definitely in this one. like a couple of
Yeah.
the other ones. And this was a couple that, so 2 episodes back we're seeing them at Khan's party where they are the ones that have been married the longest. They've been married for 30 years at this point. And we're seeing them uh, still figuring out how to interact with one another. But
Yeah, I mean, even though I can't say that I have a 30-year relationship, in fact, my longest one was like 4 months, um, you know, there still is, throughout a relationship, a constant learning of, hey, it's a constant, like, just trying to find out another person, because you never know what another person is thinking.
yeah,
You just can't, feasibly.
yep,
So there's always, like, learning something, at least, in my experience.
yep, that works. So they do that. I'm trying, I can't remember the Bobby plot on this one.
Was there one?
I'm, it's not coming to mind. I feel like I dropped the ball here on the last episode.
Because I feel like it was mostly,
Because they have the party there, and they brought back Buck.
yeah, they did bring
So
back
that
Buck.
good on them for bringing back Mr. Strickland. I thought that was a lot of fun.
He's always a shyster, as always.
Always, always. Um,
But that's what we like about Buck. He's our shyster.
I don't remember the Bobby plot on this one.
I'm not sure there was one.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna get to it here in the next day or two. Um, but that was it in a season. Now we've done an overview and we've gone in depth. Um, yeah, we had left the retrospective, leaving the door open, but we were all, I think, pretty convinced that it was going to be terrible.
I was. Uh, I think my exact words were, I was ready for my childhood to be raped before my eyes.
Yeah. Well, because
Um,
they also released that trailer, which all of us thought was
yeah,
terrible.
uh, they subverted my expectations greatly. I'll say
I
that
wonder if
much.
any of that was intentional. I mean, it was,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know, but
maybe.
I'm down for a season 15.
Me too.
A
I would.
season two of the revival.
I think they've set it up. The character beats. To Gary can get back to like kind of the classic King of the Hill, like character based storytelling and comedy. So like that's
Yeah,
what the show always did best, was focusing on the people.
yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting to see where they go from here. They definitely have things they can explore with Bobby. They're going to want to be careful not to. What they can't do, or at the very what they shouldn't do, is turn him into the next Hank.
Yeah,
And I
I mean, he
think
used to have some like similarities, but also be very distinct. As in, like
yeah,
he has this profession that he really cares about. In his
yes,
case, that's his thing. That's his
that's
contribution
his
to
propane.
society
Yeah,
and his view. Yeah, it's his propane, but not in a kind of chasing the, kind of in a chasing the father sense, but also in a way that it's like I'm my own man and I'm
yeah,
doing this my way.
yeah. So they can go with that. The Willow thing, maybe they finished her out, but I don't think they necessarily had to. I think it was
Yeah,
interesting
all that
that
they had. She might be a good pairing for Joseph. To be fair,
well, and so that's a question. Are they? I mean, Connie is the real question in there. Are they going to bring those two together? And frankly, based on season one, I don't even know if I want that to happen. Boy,
I don't
I
think
sound like a
that.
middle school girl right now talking about shipping people. But
Yeah, I don't. I feel like that would, in terms of like the whole series wide plot, they were setting it up from the beginning, so they may just do it because they feel like they have to.
yeah,
But I think that it would be more interesting for Bobby's character to say, no, uh, I've grown beyond my like childhood love.
yeah,
This
they're
idealized
gonna
version of you.
they're gonna have to take Connie to dark places to get there.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking. I don't know what either ruining some sort of deal with Chain's dad, or so her dad comes out looking good. She would have to burn Bobby somehow,
yeah.
but I don't
And
know.
I'm not sure from what we've seen that that's being set up. But also, we do see that she's not exactly the most.
She's not the angel archetype,
No,
right?
she's not. So she very well could, but I don't think
Yeah,
they're setting it up for that.
I don't know, and it's interesting, because that, golly, I need a better word than interesting, but it's that idea of, yeah, we rail against it all the time, the whole Nala idea, the OnlyFans whore that decides she wants kids when she's 28 and she's been railed um, from here to Greece. But there, what we often lose in having those conversations is the talk of the prodigal and of redemption. And don't take this further than I'm going right now. I'm not talking to you, but I'm talking to the general audience. Don't go further than I'm going right now. But in the midst of sin and all of that, we can't lose sight of what it means that grace has given us.
Yes.
And so if we see Bobby take those strides to have some sort of redemptive arc and some sort of grace there in with Connie, it's it's kind of goofy. It's potentially too easy a story to tell right now in the here and now of 2025, but it's not necessarily the wrong story or an impossible story.
I don't think so.
So, so I don't know. It could go either way. I will gladly put my gauntlet on the table and say I was surprised by this. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to the next season.
Me too.
Perfect. All right. Well, hey, you got anything else tonight? Anything you want to chill or talk about? And then,
No, just follow me on Twitter at Willie12. Uh,
all
and
right. Yep. So I will get Willie up there in the description. Make sure he's added in. We appreciate everybody watching. Go have fun with this. I mean, obviously you watched a bunch of spoilers, but whatever.
yeah. Anyway, everyone have a
Have fun,
great
guys.
night.
Yep.